There are some characters in professional sports that have built up such a reputation for their insane athletic feats that it feels like you have to, at the very least, consider the viability of even the most outrageous claims about them. It doesn't have to be feats of pure athleticism, more so something that adds to their mystique. Like Kobe Bryant and his insane work ethic, for example. How many stories have you read where some former player or coach is drooling over what a monster he was in the weight room and with his conditioning? Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, two future Hall of Famers in their own right, recounted a Kobe work ethic anecdote to ESPN's Michael Wallace. Here's how they described it. "We're in Las Vegas and we all come down for team breakfast at the start of the whole training camp," Bosh said. "And Kobe comes in with ice on his knees. He's got sweat drenched through his workout gear, and I'm like, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Where is he coming from?" Wade added, "Everybody else just woke up. We're all yawning, and he's already 3 hours and a full workout into his day." There were also the rumors that he'd force his high school teammates to play games of one-on-one to 100 points after practice. The point being, it's tough to tell where the line between reality and folklore is drawn for some of these guys. Did Kobe have a legendary work ethic? Yeah. But was every single personal account of it 100% accurate? Well, that's where it gets a little hairy. There is one former NBA player who, like Kobe, has millions of stories told and retold about him, even long since he has passed. But in Wilt Chamberlain's case, it seems like every damn one of them is the stone cold truth. Between his legendary 100-point game against the Knicks or his 62 season, where he averaged over 50 points per game for the entire year, there is no shortage of Wilt Chamberlain facts that will leave you scratching your head, leaving you wondering how in the world could someone be so dominant. But interestingly, basketball was never even Chamberlain's true love. Growing up, he was resistant to even pick the sport up. But because it was so popular in the Philadelphia area and he was so gifted, he did. Once Chamberlain retired from his professional basketball career, he was still in good enough shape and enough of a freak athlete to put together an equally impressive second act, during which he proved the depths of his versatility as an athlete. Not only did he remain in ridiculous shape, but he was also heavily involved in developing professional opportunities in volleyball and track and field. Wilt's involvement provided a bevy of opportunities for athletes who never would have had the chance if Wilt hadn't attached his name to it. He even played in matches for the Seattle Smashers, a West Coast franchise of the International Volleyball Association, and now defunct Pro Volleyball League that Chamberlain was a board member of. Check out his clip of Chamberlain spiking during warm-ups. And keep in mind, this was while he was well into his mid-40s. Chamberlain's multi-sport exploits were not limited to secondary sports like volleyball and track. Although this story took place during his athletic prime, he was actually very close to finding his way onto an NFL roster. And if you had have asked NFL Hall of Famer and the coach who conducted Chamberlain's tryout, Hank Stram, about Wilt's potential on the gridiron, his answer would shock you. Let's take a dive into the story of how Wilt Chamberlain took his otherworldly athleticism to the football field and nearly ended up playing in the NFL. Then discuss how good he might have been. For some context, this was all happening during 1967, while Wilt was still in his early 30s and very much the peak of his powers. Hank Stram was coaching the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the preeminent AFL franchises that had just recently been absorbed into the NFL as part of the infamous 1966 AFL-NFL merger. Although Stram had been a football coach since 1948, when he started as a lowly assistant at his alma mater, Purdue, he was a far cry from the stubborn, old-school stereotype that we now associate with longtime coaches. Stram was always looking for new ways to innovate the game. It was Stram who first implemented the moving pocket as a method for creating new throwing lanes for Len Dawson as the Chiefs quarterback barely eclipsed 6 feet. Interestingly, Stram, who stood just 5'5" and 7 inches himself, was fascinated by the idea of building unique strategies around the size of his players. So not only did he develop the moving pocket, but he was also a pioneer in recruiting mountainous offensive linemen, like we're used to seeing on the field today, as he felt his relatively diminutive running backs would be even harder for opposing defenses to track behind that kind of a wall. He was also responsible for bringing Morris Stroud into the NFL, who at the time was far and away the tallest player in NFL history, standing at 6'10". He designed red zone packages and plays to create mismatches for Stroud and positioned him under the field goal post when the other team was attempting a lengthy field goal. I say all of this to say it shouldn't come as a surprise that Stram was smitten with the idea of wrangling the then Philadelphia 76ers star Wilt Chamberlain and getting him into the Kansas City Chiefs red and white. Stram invited Chamberlain to join the Chiefs for training camp as a wide receiver, perhaps thinking that if someone as clumsy as Morris Stroud could be used effectively in professional football, imagine the damage that a 7-footer with elite coordination could do in the same role. Chamberlain never wanted to shy away from a challenge or some more attention, obliged and subsequently joined the Chiefs for training camp, and to say that Wilt impressed would be an understatement. As legend has it, he burned Chiefs running back Curtis McClinton in a short-distance sprint and hauled in damn near every pass thrown his way. Stram explained it all in his book like so. I had him stand under the crossbar of the goalpost. I told him I was going to throw the football a little above the bar. The first throw touched the bar and bounced on over. Wilt asked me if I wanted him to start catching the ball. I threw again and he leaped up flat-footed and caught it. Stram remembered. I kept throwing. After a bit, he was catching the ball with one hand like he was wearing a baseball glove. How could you possibly defense him? You'd have to have a 7-foot defensive back. Yeah, it sounds like he was pretty sold on Chamberlain's promise as a wideout in the NFL. But just how sold was he? Well, Stram was once asked if Jerry Rice was the greatest wide receiver he'd ever seen play the game. You know, Jerry Rice, the 12-time All-Pro wide receiver who holds just about every receiving record there is in the NFL. The guy that literally has GOAT inside of a goat tattooed on his arm. Yeah, that Jerry Rice. To Hank Stram, that Jerry Rice was great, one of the best, but second best to be precise, he explained. Second best. I had a guy come to camp one year and ran a 4.4-second 40-yard dash in dress shoes. He was faster than Rice and had huge hands that could catch a football like nobody I ever saw. He was the greatest leaper I ever saw, and he could go up and get a pass that nobody could defend. Because he was so aloof as to who this mysterious figure was, the interviewer prodded, asking why he didn't sign him. To which Stram replied he wanted to play QB. His name was Wilt Chamberlain. It is exactly this kind of musing that has made Wilt Chamberlain more than an icon in American sports. He is a mythical figure of sorts, a one-of-a-kind athlete born into an era of sport that was ill-equipped to compete with him. A man who could drop 50 like it was nothing, and he had experts from damn near every other professional sport clamoring for him to give their game a go. I mean, think about it. Chamberlain was at one point slotted to box against Muhammad Ali, the man widely regarded as the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. Chalk it up to a publicity stunt or chasing the bag or whatever you want to. But for these rumors to have even formed, and for people to have been legitimately intrigued by a professional basketball player's prospects in boxing, Wilt truly must have been something to behold. Wilt Chamberlain was born in 1936 to a blue-collar Philadelphia family. One of 9, his childhood was nothing glamorous, but as he got older and his striking talent started to reveal themselves, more and more doors started to open for Chamberlain. During high school, he averaged 31 points a game on the basketball court, leading his Overbrook High School team to the city championship game, where he dropped 29 points despite being quadruple teamed the entire game. Overbrook ended up losing a Type 1 to the winner of the rival Catholic League and eventual city champs West Catholic. Oh, by the way, this was Wilt's freshman year of high school. Over the next 3 seasons, Wilt would average nearly 40 points per game, including a stretch where he recorded 74, 78, and 90 in 3 consecutive games, en route to smashing the previous career scoring record. It wasn't just Wilt padding his stats either. Overbrook thrived as a team, going 56-3, snagging 2 city championships. And it was in that modest Philadelphian high school basketball gym that the lore of Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain started to really take on a life of its own. During his last year at Overbrook, he was fielding offers from quite literally every college under the sun, as he received offers from over 200 colleges. Chamberlain decided on the reigning national champions, the University of Kansas, and Hall of Fame coach Phog Allen. At Kansas, he not only dominated on the hardwood, but he also competed in various track and field events, including the 440-meter high hurdles and shot put, and he was the Big 8 high jump champion 3 years running. True to form in Wilt's first game on the freshman team, as rules still prohibited freshmen from playing varsity, he dropped 50 on Kansas starters in front of 15,000 plus. After 2 All-American selections and an NCAA Tournament Most Outstanding Player award, Chamberlain went pro, but not in the way that we know it today. Back then, college players weren't eligible for the NBA until after their junior year of college, so Wilt took his talents elsewhere and played for the Harlem Globetrotters, signing for over $50,000, which was unheard of at the time. Then, once he was eligible, he declared for the NBA, where he took his game to the next level. Wilt came along at a time long before the NBA was filled to the brim with freak athletes, and to put it simply, almost no one had any answer for him. During his 13-year NBA career, Wilt made 13 All-Star games, led the league in scoring 7 straight seasons and in rebounding 11 total times. And Wilt was not a one-trick pony either. As he aged and the game continued to evolve, he became an excellent passer as well, even leading the NBA in assists one season. Once Wilt retired from the NBA, his jersey ended up being retired by 3 different organizations, which really tells you all you need to know about the breadth of his accomplishments in the league. It's a shame, however, that for all the amazing feats Wilt put on display for sports fans, we never got to see him throw on the shoulder pads or haul in some passes from Len Dawson. Now that would have been a sight to behold. Which athlete from another sport do you think would have made the best football player? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do that by hitting the subscribe button down there as well. If you liked the video, then like the video. We'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune in to TPS every single day for more cool videos. We'll see you next time.